So basically, I tried to go to bed at like 9:30 tonight on Friday night. Somewhat due to boredom, I guess, but more so due to a mild case of depression. But either way, I couldn't fall asleep because, life is full of those fucking bitter ass lemons. So instead, I figured I'll deal with the fatigue a little while longer and rant about whatever comes to mind in an effort to tire myself off a little further. So I think the majority of this rant is going to be about effort and how it means absolutely nothing. Basically, the more effort you put into something, and in this instance, the something is video crafting, obviously, the less meaningful it all becomes, because after a while you start to realize there's zero reward in it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy making videos and I like putting them out, but it becomes a smidge disheartening when you spend a few hours on a 7 or 8 minute movie and wind up with about 20 views at the end of the fucking day. Yeah, and meanwhile some shithead with crystal meth toxins pushing through his skin and a speech impediment can dive headfirst into like a pile of goat shit, and next thing you know he's anointed king of the internet. It's fucking pitiful. And it's not just that either. For example, a guy could create content that basically literally gives the viewer oral sex through his or her computer, but he'll go unnoticed unless one of like the big dogs is feeling generous on that particular day. Essentially, there's a handful of guys, maybe a few more than a handful at this point, but there's a handful of guys that hold the keys to the kingdom. So they either have to catch wind of you somehow through the grapevine, or you have to spam enough of them until one of them finally gives you a shout out in some form or another. And I guess there's even specific instances you could also spend a couple $100, but that's a whole different can of worms I'm not gonna really get into. And I guess there's something to be said for machinima, because they tried to level the playing field a little bit with their Facebook application, but let's be serious, that thing is a fucking joke. I mean, 5 minutes after you submit a video there, it's already buried under garbage-ass theater mode clips of some cocksucker throwing a tomahawk across the map. So, there's really no point in ever submitting anything there unless you've got 50 friends willing to bump your shit right away. And Jesus Christ, even machinima, that shit right there is a catch-22, because you can't get a partnership with them unless your channel is already moderately successful, yet their respawn channel is more or less used to get fresh faces out to the public. And even that's fucking weird, because it's a mystery to me as to how some of the dudes on that channel are partnered to begin with. I mean, have you guys ever watched some of the shit that goes up on there daily? Using today just as an example, some kid put up like this abomination of a video, something about how Modern Warfare 3 is going to have a nuke kill streak reward. I'll put a big annotation on the screen so you can check it out. But anyway, this kid shits out a 4-minute video that's basically incoherent rambling and homophobic remarks over absolutely atrocious gameplay, and yet this is the kind of content that Machinima is willing to pay for. Hey, I know this probably sounds like sour grapes coming from me, and to a certain extent it is, but for Christ's sake, this isn't an isolated case. I mean, there's hundreds of these people who can't put together a video worth of shit, and yet there they are on a very successful channel getting thousands of views. Meanwhile, I'm not going to say me, but there's guys out there who don't have more than 50 subscribers, maybe even less, who are busting their ass to put out content on a regular basis, and they're just like sitting with their thumb up their ass. It's just a shitty and unfortunate situation, really. And what's the alternative? I mean, you can wait for a stroke of luck and hope someone with a huge following happens upon your videos. That's pretty harmless. Or you could whore your videos out to specific directors and maybe one of them will give you the time of day. That's a more viable option, but it's fucking greasy, and I'm personally not gonna do it. Yes, and I know what you're thinking, but this whole rant is by no means about money or anything like that. I've got a job, I'm going to school, I generally have my shit together, more or less. It's about getting the vids to a broader audience. My most successful video to date is just under 10,000 views and 500 likes, which isn't bad for a like 250 some odd size subscriber base. So I know I have the ability and the sense of humor that people find enjoyable, but how the fuck are people supposed to find it? And at the same time, that parody video only did as well as it did because Stu gave it a favorite and people found it from there, so that ultimately falls back to my original point. So the too long didn't watch summary of this video is basically content quality is essentially worthless, at least as it stands right now. The most successful people in this quote-unquote game are horrible content providers, and they don't really give a fuck, let's be serious. And, you know, there are obvious exceptions, there always are, and we all know who they are, and we appreciate them for it, but the point is still there. It's a shitty cycle. I mean, some of the best content providers around are unable to get their foot in the door because they're buried under the same half-ass shit put out day after day. Anyway, enough of the woe is me bullshit. So I want to dedicate this video and all future videos to the pimps who show a continued interest and faith in what I'm doing. You are the fucking best and the reason why I keep doing what I do. And I think that'll pretty much do it for this gameplay. So if you want to talk some more shit about directors we all hate, feel free to leave a comment below. It'll be lulzy. And in the meantime, this has been Bear. I love you guys, and stay tuned for some more ridiculous videos, and have a good one. See ya.